Hello everyone, this is Aaron. In this class, we're going to unpack the relevance of the story of Mencius'Mother to today's society. First of all, I'm going to talk about it from my own perspective as a Chinese person born after 1990. Then my British colleague David is going to cover mostly the same content, but completely in English. This is going to be fantastic English listening practice, so I suggest you listen several times until you get it all. And now, without any further ado, let's begin the class. 在这篇故事中，孟母之所以到处搬家，主要是想让孩子离优质教育资源和社会群体更近一些，从而让孩子得到更好的教育和熏陶。孟母对孩子教育问题的上心作为一种中华传统美德被流传了下来。2000年之后的今天，中国大地上仍然遍布着无数的孟母。今天我们分别找出来2类有代表性的群体，跟大家聊一聊现代孟母的故事。如果你在海淀黄庄、中关村一带走下地铁，映入你眼帘的全部都是跟教育有关的信息以及广告。高考、考研、出国考试辅导、出国留学服务、公务员考试辅导应有尽有。这类教育行业之所以火热，是因为海淀区聚集了大量的学生以及家长群体。而他们被吸引到这里的目的，就是这里全国顶尖的教育资源。而一旦搬到这里来，家长和学生共同的奋斗就开始了。对于学生来说，压力来自于他们繁重的课业以及跟优秀同龄人的竞争；而对于父母而言，他们需要承受学区房高昂的房价，同时现在许多学校都有父母面试的环节。因此，这些家长不仅需要保持自己体面的工作，还要不断充实自己的文化修养。有一位海淀家长透露在饭局上有另外2个家长呢，分别是人民医院的外科医生和人大金融系的毕业生，聊的话题都是最近新开的斯坦福大学 Stanford University 的算法课和约翰霍普金斯大学 Johns Hopkins University 新开的基因组课。而且不是听着玩，是要按时上课写 paper 那种。要知道，这些藤校课难度都是非常高的，他们在忙碌的工作之余要完成这些，需要极强的自制力和时间规划。而除了藤校课程之外，他们的人文历史知识也十分丰富。可见，即使已经有了很好的教育背景，他们也在不断充实和提高自己，为自己的孩子做出榜样。可能对于上述家长来说呢，辅导孩子初高中的课程是非常简单的。还有一些家长可能在大学毕业之后，很多知识都还给老师了。不过一旦到了孩子紧张的上学阶段，他们又立刻学霸附体。藤校的网课先别学了，孩子现在学的这个知识自己先捡起来了。所以网上就有了一张非常著名的图片，是在海淀区某个高数培训班，孩子们在前面认真学习，而家长们在认真地跟孩子一起学，准确地说，是比孩子学得更认真。记笔记，跟着做练习，录视频，各种学习方法应有尽有，为的就是回家之后能跟孩子一起复习，巩固知识或者提问孩子。
As we know, the reason why Mencius's mother moved house was mainly because she wanted her child to live nearer excellent academic resources and a well-educated community. She hoped that in that way her son would receive a better education and be immersed in a more edifying atmosphere. Mencius's mother's attitude to her child's education symbolizes a traditional way of Chinese thinking that has been handed down for 2 millennia. To this day, China still produces countless mothers of Mencius. Aaron picked 2 fairly typical groups of people in modern Chinese society to talk about the mother of Mencius' story in a modern context. If you are ever in Beijing and travel to Haidian Huangzhuang or Zhongguancun, you will be confronted with hundreds of posters that advertise all kinds of educational services from the moment you step out of the subway. They advertise courses about the Gaokao, the Chinese University matriculation exam, postgraduate entrance exams for foreign universities, civil service entrance exams, etc., etc., etc. Now, the reason why there are so many education services offered in this area is because so many students and their parents live in this part of Beijing. The reason they have all come here is because of, Well, the excellent educational resources. That is what we call in English a chicken and egg situation. The egg comes from the chicken, but the chicken comes from the egg. Once students and parents move here, they enter a world of stiff competition, and that competition is not just in the area of academic study. Because there is such demand for housing in this part of Beijing, the house prices are exceedingly high. But that's not all. These days, very selective schools will often not only interview the child, but will also interview the parents. They want to make sure that the child will have the right atmosphere at home to succeed academically. Parents, Aaron tells us, not only have to keep up with requirements at work, they also have to make sure that they keep themselves as cultivated and educated as they can. Indeed, a parent from Haidian district once revealed that during dinner with another father and mother, one of whom was a surgeon and the other of whom was a finance graduate from Xiamen University, they were talking about some online classes they were taking. One was taking an online class on algorithms from Stanford University, whilst the other was taking an online class from Johns Hopkins University on genetics. The parents initially thought that they were joking. However, in fact, they weren't. Furthermore, the classes they were taking weren't just interest classes, but were serious classes with final examinations. The fact that, apart from raising children and holding down busy jobs, they were able to take on this kind of extra study was incredible. But it just goes to show what the atmosphere is like in some of the hyper-academic districts of large Chinese cities. These parents, who already had an excellent academic background, were continuing to improve themselves so as to be good role models for their children. Now, perhaps as far as these kinds of parents are concerned, helping their children out with their coursework for junior high and senior high would be very easy. However, more ordinary parents are likely to have completely forgotten much of the knowledge they gained when they were at school. Aaron actually used the humorous Chinese phrase, "They have given their knowledge back to their teacher." Such parents, though, will often spend time relearning their high school classes when their children get to that stage of their education. Online, there is a very famous photograph of a training center class in Haidian district. At the front of the class, the students are assiduously learning, while behind them, their parents are following along with equal eagerness. In fact, the parents look like they are studying more conscientiously than the children. They're taking notes, doing the exercises along with the teacher, they're videoing the class. They are doing all this so that they can revise with their children and help them to consolidate the knowledge they have gained.
让我们把目光向南移动一点点。有一部纪录片《高考》，让安徽省六安市的一所复读中学毛坦厂中学名声大噪。每年学校都会迎送数以万计的学生，而伴随着学生到来和离去的，就是学校周边最庞大的群体之一——陪读家长。人们已经通过纪录片对于复读学生在学校紧张的作息有所了解。每天6点开始晨读，在学校的时间一直到夜里11点晚自习结束。回家还要继续写作业，直到凌晨1、2点才可以上床睡觉。午饭、晚饭真正的吃饭时间只有10分钟，连上厕所的时间都是统一的。而陪读家长们呢，每天日程的紧张程度，比起自己的子女来，有过之而无不及。早上需要比孩子更早起床来准备早饭，有的家长每天需要打工将近13个小时。同时还需要给孩子们洗衣做饭，而除了每天紧张的日程和高强度的劳动外，陪读家长们还得担任孩子们的心理医生。有时候压力巨大的孩子在家里面发脾气抱怨，家长都要起到疏导的作用。但实际上，陪读家长们内心承受的压力一点都不比孩子小。为了让孩子们安心学习，学校周边几乎没有任何娱乐设施和产业。刚开始家长们过来之后，有些不工作的家长会觉得非常的难熬和枯燥。不过渐渐的，家长们找到了苦中作乐的方式，比如有些妈妈们会聚集在一起跳跳广场舞，锻炼身体，打发时间的同时，家长们也会互相加油鼓劲。而除了陪读父母之外，毛坦厂中学还有不少陪读爷爷奶奶案例。在第4季七夕这一课中，司老师曾经用过这样一句话 This is a phenomenon which is far more common in China than in the West. Grandparents taking an active role in looking after and often tutoring and educating grandchildren. 这是在中国普遍、西方少见的现象，那就是爷爷奶奶在照顾教育第三代方面发挥了积极作用。其中有一位著名的陪读奶奶，在20多年的陪读时间里，年过70的老人一共陪伴了8个孙辈考上大学。尽管有些大学他可能连名字都读不出来，但谈起这些经历来，他依然十分自豪。每次陪读，他都租住学校周围简易的住房，在艰苦的条件中照顾着孙子孙女的饮食起居。
Aaron then turned south to look at a famous school in Anhui called Maotanchang High School. It is a massive school that in some ways resembles some kind of an exam factory. Students in their thousands pass through this school, and a kind of village of parents who are studying with their children has grown around it. A documentary about this incredibly intense school was made. The documentary revealed that classes and study for these students begin at 6 a.m. and usually don't finish until 11 p.m. at night. Even after returning home after such a heavy day, students usually have to face homework and have to finish it. Students tend not to get to sleep until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning. Students are only given 10 minutes for lunch and 10 minutes for dinner. Even toilet breaks are carefully arranged. The documentary also showed how the parents who accompany these students often have tighter schedules even than their children. They get up earlier than their children to prepare breakfast for them. Some parents often have jobs that see them working for 13 hours. They also have to be able to wash clothes and cook for their children. In addition to all of which, these parents also have to play the role of psychologists to their children, who are, of course, under huge pressure, which means that they often lose their temper or complain. However, the pressure and stress the parents feel is not necessarily less than their children's. In order to let their children study in peace and quiet, the areas surrounding the school have hardly any places of entertainment or industrial buildings. Many parents complained when they first arrived that the area was incredibly boring. However, gradually, the parents start to find ways of enjoying themselves despite the hardships. The documentary showed some of the mothers getting together to form an amateur dancing troupe. Others would exercise together. Apart from finding this way to pass the time, these parents would also use these opportunities to offer words of encouragement to each other. Apart from the parents, Maotanchang also has quite a number of grandmothers and grandfathers accompanying the children. Aaron, at this point, did me the honour of quoting a sentence I used during season 4, namely, "This is a phenomenon which is far more common in China than in the West. Grandparents taking an active role in looking after and often tutoring and educating grandchildren." It is definitely true that in the West we seldom see so many grandparents playing such an active role in the upbringing of children. Educating across generations can be very effective. In fact, there was a famous case of a grandmother who, over a period of about 20 years, raised 8 of her grandchildren all the way until they entered university. This delightful old lady was not even able to recall the names of the universities which her grandchildren entered. However, she was hugely proud of them. She would often live in very humble dwellings close to where one or other of her grandchildren was studying. She would make sure each grandchild was well fed and looked after.
中国有句话叫"再苦不能苦孩子，再穷不能穷教育"。为了孩子将来成才，中国父母可以说是倾其所有，哪怕很多时候自己要受点委屈。虽然给孩子有时候施加一些压力，但同时自己身上的压力会相应的是孩子好几倍。与此对比的是，以前有一个说法，西方的学生享受的是所谓快乐童年，学校8点上课，下午3点就下课，然后学生们可以尽情的游戏娱乐，享受童年的美好时光。事情真的是这样吗？
China has an old phrase, no matter how bitter your life is, you should not deprive your child of a good education. That is one of those cases where it is hard to translate the phrase, which in the original Chinese was 再穷也不能穷教育. Unfortunately, it is not that easy to convey it so neatly in English. Chinese parents may give their children a lot of stress, but that is often nothing compared to the stress parents themselves feel, particularly because of the financial sacrifices they have to make. Chinese people often contrast this with the Western attitude of giving children a happy childhood. Aaron talks about how school in the West is often from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. After returning home, Western children, or so Aaron says, often just play games and have fun. Or, as I say, that's how Aaron describes the impression many Chinese people have. However, he asks, is it really like that? Do children who enter top universities in the West have to go through the same levels of stress and work that Chinese students wanting to enter Peking University or Tsinghua University have to go through? To which I can answer, they certainly don't. Although, to use an English phrase, getting into top Western universities is not a walk in the park either. Western countries do also have plenty of hard-working students.